You're listening to the Yes, I'm Still Sober podcast with John Rabin. Hello, everybody. It's the Yes, I'm Still Sober podcast. I'm John Rabin. This is episode 31. We don't have a whole lot of time. We've got a lot to get to today. I'm just kidding. We don't. You imagine if I had like a itinerary that was packed? I mean, maybe at some point, you never know. There might be an episode that comes around that I've got tons of shit to talk about and not a whole lot of time, so I just pack it in. I don't see that, though. I want to say thank you to... I have the same consistent number of listeners like every week, which implies that it's the same people. You know, I don't think I have a whole lot of new people checking me out and old people, people listening once and going, well, all right, I figured this guy out already, and then never. Maybe there are some, but for those of you who listen week after week, thank you guys. And I know I'm supposed to say, make sure you recommend me to all your friends. Don't do that. Recommend me to the friends that you think will get me. Like, go, you know what? Dave would get this. Dave's kind of a pill. He'd probably be into this shit. Like, let Dave know then. That's how I want to promote. Man, I've got so much shit on my desk. What am I doing? It may be time to do a cleaning. I'm not a hoarder so much as I'm lazy. I think that's what it is. I don't feel like walking 4 steps to the trash can. So there's this article that I read that I wanted to share, and it's from Psychology Today. And man, I really need to read more Psychology Today because these guys are smart. No, they're just, it's I don't know, psychology is interesting. This particular article is about, it's called the costs of perpetual wrong thinking about addiction. So I thought it was pertinent. So it's the subheadline is the politicians often make the same mistake responding to the latest drug scare. Ooh, so here we go. In preparation to run for president, the New York Times notes, you may have to make your mea culpas. We can all Google that later. Here was Joe Biden's apology for the way he handled crack. It was a big mistake that we made. The 1994 crime bill Biden helped to write built around getting tough on drugs, Mr. Biden said of the measure, which has been criticized as disproportionately affecting black Americans. Yeah, just a bit. We were told by the experts that crack, you never go back. Really, the experts said that specifically? That the two, crack and powder cocaine, were somehow fundamentally different. It's not, but it trapped an entire generation. Let's be clear about, okay, so now it's back to the article. So let's be clear about what Biden is apologizing for and what he and society still fails to comprehend. Getting legally tough on drugs penalizes poor people, putting millions in jail uselessly. That's what they address. This is what Biden doesn't address. Number one, that the crack scare was one in a long history of drug scares panics that demonize a particular drug. And two, focusing on supposedly bad drugs fails to address the sources of problematic drug use. I believe that Biden may not understand these points for 2 reasons. He seems to believe that drugs addict people, causing them to misbehave and ruin their lives. Although he now says he was wrong in saying crack did this, he still believes that opioids do this. Keep in mind that in 2007, Biden introduced the Recognizing Addiction as a Disease Act, which made exactly the point for which he is apologizing about crack. Opioids make you lose control and turn over your life to a drug in a way that you can't avoid. In 2014, Biden was forced to acknowledge that the underlying drug in crack which is cocaine, doesn't overwhelm people because his son, Hunter, was caught using it, getting him booted from the U.S. Naval Reserve. Ooh. Hunter Biden. That's a combo. But Biden still believes this bad drug profile holds for opioids, even though the overwhelming majority of opioid users have no problem with the drug, which is true, and we kind of tend to miss that people who have pain and take painkillers and opioids when they have pain, not an everyday thing. There's a lot of people that use them or have used Vicodin and hydrocodone and different stuff where it's, they use it when they were in pain, and then when they were off pain, they quit using it because they're like, nah, it's not for me. This is not. I'm going to keep doing this. But let's see. And so whatever he wanted done to crack users in 1994, he presumably would be willing to do to opioid users today, or illicit opioid users, or fentanyl users, or whomever, for the same mistaken offense, which is using an overwhelming addictive drug, no matter how the person actually behaves, for example, like Biden's son. Because opioids are addictive, bad, control people, and people can't be allowed to use and must be punished for using them, as Biden claims, lives, families, and communities have been destroyed by opioid addiction all across America. Opioid addiction is a crisis ripping the heart out of our country. Old ways of thinking die hard no matter how mythical. So, anyway, so there's that. I think we missed that. I think because, we can't completely discount the dangers of certain drugs. For example, like I keep talking about fentanyl and that motherfucker. Or the fact that, heroin is the best drug, which I've brought up. No, that it's, and especially like needle users are at a severe level. And that's kind of, that just comes along with the territory, because if you're at the point where using a needle for drugs is not an issue, that's a level of addiction that you're like, hey, I've got no problem with sticking this in me, which I didn't. And some people don't. A lot of people do. But that's like a higher level of addiction. Never mind the drug as powerful as it is or what it can do to you. But it's just that attitude of, this drug is way dangerous, because people have changed their attitude about cocaine. Like, people used to hide cocaine more than they do now. It's almost, people talk about cocaine now like we talked about weed 20 years ago. It really is one of those things. It's like weed is way out in the open, but like coke is just still kind of like there, but it's like, yeah, people do coke. Just like we did 20 years ago. Like, people smoke weed. It's bizarre. It's a mentality. Because some things are more harmful, but the really big thing that people need to focus on is, the actual addiction, fighting the, instead of looking at the drug as bad, alcohol is bad. That's the one that's what's wrecking families. The actual inanimate object, that's the evil. And that's just, it's an old way of thinking, and it's not correct. So I thought that was important to share. Will they ever get there? I don't know, man. Politicians, they're totally in touch with reality. So I've seen this on Facebook, just social media in general, I guess, over the years. And it's a thing said mainly by my comedian friends that I've seen say it. So it's done in sort of a self-deprecating, joking manner, but I don't know, it feels like there's underlying belief in it, which is when people they'll say something and they're like, well, this is just what I do because I'm a broken human being, which has been funny to say, but sometimes it's like, well, this is just what happens because I'm broken. But there's a lot of, I don't know, sometimes I read it and there's people, they kind of mean it. It's like, it's just I've got issues because I'm broken. And I am of the belief that actually people who have no trauma and have been sheltered and have had nothing happen to them and who have done nothing are the broken ones. I think that if you don't have any kind of guilt or pain, that there's something wrong with that. And you're probably also kind of boring. It reminds me of, I'm sure there's a lot of you who don't remember the movie, or you've avoided it because you've heard how terrible it is, which is Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. And you're not wrong. That movie is shit. It's, I don't remember who said it, but you avoid the odd Star Trek, you watch the even ones. But yeah, so Star Trek V, but there's a scene in there where this alien who's pretending to be God wants to heal, pain. And Captain Kirk's like, that's what he says. He says, the pain and guilt is makes us who we are. I need my pain. And that always sticks with me, even though I don't remember anything else about the movie because other than, God damn, it was terrible. But that really stuck with me because that really, I've thought about that over the past 6.5 years of being sober. Just that who I am now is, what I've done to myself or what I've been through. And I don't know, it kind of makes, it's every dumb thing that I've done or, some or weird situation or almost dying or whatever. I don't know. It makes it, I feel more interesting. I just got to say, I'm not saying that, you ought to search out trauma, but I think we're looking at it the wrong way. And because that's the whole, whatever kills you makes you stronger thing, even though the attitude of really of the younger generation Z, and just, I don't know, just in general, there's a huge segment of the population that believes that whatever kills you makes you weaker, doesn't kill you makes you weaker, wants to avoid any kind of discomfort, any kind of something that they don't agree with, nothing, they don't want anything challenging. And I totally get it. I've in such a comfort zone that I don't like to push myself because I'm like, man, I'm zen as fuck, baby. This is who I am. Everything's great. Stay in your own lane. I'm just gonna sit in my little whatever, and that's fine for a while. But man, it's babies can't stay in the womb. You have to experience shit to grow, and sometimes life sucks sometimes, and you need it. You need struggle. If you don't, then little things are huge to you because you've never experienced really terrible shit. And you know what? And I'm so guilty of seeing somebody talk about, when you see somebody who's just like, oh, this is terrible. I'm going through this thing, and they're going through something that's, kind of weak, at least to me. But, I haven't been in their shoes. Like everybody, we judge people by, I've had it worse than you. Yeah, but you're not them. It's not a competition. It's not a suffering competition. You don't have to, who's suffered the most? Who's been persecuted the most? Empathy is not quantitative. You don't have a little bit of it. You're like, look, I'd love to sympathize with you, but I'm almost out of the, my empathy tank is low. So it's just, but, it's just, I think that's, I don't think, I think it's cool to say that you're broken and you're struggling, but if you really think that, it's all in your head, man. It's people who aren't experiencing life and who have had it easy the whole time, or who've been protected their whole lives. That's broken. They're being set up. They're being treated like they're made of glass. And if you're treated like you're made of glass, at some point you become glass. And the very first time you come in contact with any kind of pressure, they're gonna break. You need little bits of pressure. You need to be exposed to things that you're allergic to or that you're scared of so that you can overcome that fear, so that the fear doesn't eat you. Yeah, that's what I say. I don't know. You're not broken. You're a functioning adult. You're okay. Maybe you're broke-ish. Yeah, there's cracks. There's lots of cracks. But if you're still moving forward, you're not broken yet. I mean, I feel broken some days. You go through weird experiences where you're just like, man, why am I restless as shit today? Or why can't I handle this that I normally can handle? Or why can't I do this? I don't know. It's just... also, whenever I'm... whenever I'm going off of feeling versus rational thought, trying to remain objective and just kind of information gathering, trying to see both sides of an issue, which there's always more than two sides. But I don't know. There's just sometimes, gut reactions. When I'm wrong, I'm really wrong. I've noticed. There's a lot of times I feel like I'm right, and I'm like, I saw that coming. I do a lot of that. There's a lot of I can deduce where some things or why some things are the way they are, and I'm can be pretty accurate. But when I'm wrong, holy shit! And I would like to give you 3 examples of being when I was very, very wrong. One example is obvious. I thought, I'm not going to get addicted to heroin. Holy shit, was I wrong? But, it just felt like, this is going fine. I'm handling, I've got this shit. Like for months, I was like, this is going all right. And then it wasn't. But number 2, all right, so the number 2 time that I was really, really wrong, I was in jail, not related to the opinion, not related, but this is just what happened. When I was in jail, I worked on the paint crew, which I really enjoyed because we worked from like 11 p.m. until from like midnight until 4 a.m. Then we ate breakfast, and then I could go to sleep, and then I went to sleep. Then I woke up for lunch, and then so it was an easy way to pass time. But we always had the because we were painting or scraping off paint or whatever in different cells, and they had a TV, so we'd have the TV on. There was an access channel that had in the middle of the night would show music videos. So it was kind of a way for us to listen to music, and most of it was terrible. But this one video came on, and this woman started singing, and she was amazing. She was really good. And I sat there and thought, it's too bad that she's never going to be big. She's never going to be famous because she doesn't look like Christina Aguilera or Ariana Grande or she doesn't look like a supermodel. she was bigger than an anorexic supermodel singer. Like, so I was sitting there going, it sucks because this chick is great. And it sucks that she's never going to be famous. And the singer I'm talking about, his name's Adele. So I was wrong. Totally. I just assumed, as shitty as our society is, that, and she was way too good. People never rarely do people really like someone who deserves it. It's who's the best. It's always some more. The most popular does not necessarily mean the best, but holy shit, was I wrong about that one. Yeah. Not only was I wrong about her becoming famous, she already was big. I just had never heard her before. So, people already knew who she was, and she was already winning awards and already selling albums. And by the time I saw her, I'm like, Rolling in the Deep is like the first time the video came out. Like, she was already known then. Just not to me. And I'm watching going, this video is amazing. Like, she's really good. This is a really good song. It's a shame no one will ever know the name Adele. All right, John. Good call there. And then finally, an even bigger, complete, an even worse time that I was wrong. I worked at Apple Computer for 6 years, in the education division. After they dissolved my department, they offered me to apply for a sales job where I'd have to call people, and I went, I'll take the severance package. That was dope as shit. So I did that. And then I moved on. But a couple of years later, Steve Jobs made this announcement of this new product. And this new product was something called the iPhone. And I said, quote, "That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. A fucking phone? Your computer, you're going to make a phone? Nobody uses... Why would anyone use a cell phone like a computer? This is going to ruin this company." That's what I said. Once again, holy shit, I could not be more wrong. Don't come to me for investment advice or, hey, what do you think about this you think this will take off? Nah. Why would anyone stare at a phone? This was in 2007, so I'm like, was like, no, there's no way. No one will pay that much for a phone. And of course, I still say this. Like when the new iPhone came out, it's $1,000 and it's made of glass. I'm not paying $1,000 for a fucking phone made of glass. Who's going to buy this phone? People buy the phone. I have no idea why. I do not have my finger on the pulse of the consumer with money to burn, obviously. But yeah. So if ever you catch me going, look, you need to listen to me, I'm always right. Just remind me. Although you don't need to, these stick with me for, especially, the Adele and iPhone stick with me all the time to help keep me on a level where, you make sure you think things through, because you're not always right. And when you're not right, you're really fucking wrong. So, I don't know. I try to keep myself grounded with that kind of shit. And I thought I'd tell you about it because holy shit was I wrong. Guys, thank you so much for joining me again this week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Hang in there. Stay warm or cold or cool, depending on, this fucking weather, man. This has been Yes, I'm Still Sober. I'm John Rabin. See you guys.
right and values. Live right.